watching AYV Television.
From our broadcasting house here on Wester Street in Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown. This is Primetime News on AYV Television and Radio. You're watching us on channel 33. You're also listening to us this evening on frequency modulation 101.7. My name is Victor Jones. Let's start with tonight's headlines. The government of Sierra Leone has announced a reduction in the retail pump price of petroleum product amid widespread public backlash from civil society organizations, calling the reduction insignificant. Also tonight on the program, authorities are calling for stronger child victim protection in legal processes. Well, hello and welcome from wherever you're joining us from tonight. This is Primetime News with me, Victor Jones. Now, the government of Sierra Leone has announced a reduction in the retail pump price of petroleum products following a meeting with oil marketing companies to review developments in international petroleum prices. According to government statements, the new price took effect immediately after the meeting earlier today. Under the revised pricing structure, petrol will now retail at 33 leones per litre, while diesel will sell from 35 leones per litre. The statement indicated that price adjustment was made after assessing trends in the international petroleum market and in consultation with industry stakeholders. The presser further stated that government will continue to closely monitor global fuel price movement and review domestic pump price whenever necessary to reflect changes in the international market. Well, however, civil society organizations have criticized the scale of the reduction made, calling it extremely small and financially insignificant. The coalition of Moyamba civil society organizations have joined a nationwide call for a further reduction in fuel prices, expressing solidarity with the Native Consortium and other civil rights advocates. Despite the government's recent fuel price adjustment, the CSOs say the reduction is insufficient in light of the reported decline in global fuel prices. As a symbol of unity, resistance, and concern over the growing economic hardship facing citizens, they are urging civil society groups and the public to wear black clothes on Tuesday, 30th June 2026, while reaffirming their commitment to peaceful advocacy and constructive engagement with authorities. Now, the Sierra Leone Labour Congress has also expressed disappointment over the government's recent reduction in fuel pump prices, describing it as inadequate when compared to a sharp decline in international crude oil prices. While acknowledging the government's response to its earlier appeal, the Labour Congress is urging President Julius Maada Bio to direct the relevant authorities to conduct a further review of fuel prices. The Congress says a more substantial reduction would ease the cost of living burden on workers and households, strengthening public confidence and support economic growth through lower transportation and operational costs. Well, now, away from the fuel controversy, the Sierra Leone is witnessing what many describe as a turning point in fight against child marriage as authorities begin enforcing the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act of 2024. Legal experts say the prosecution of alleged offenders demonstrates that the law is no longer just legislation on paper, but a tool for holding perpetrators accountable. Advocate's legal manager, Williet Hughes, says this is a significant step forward. She was speaking on today's edition of AYV's Wake Up Salon with Phoebe Nswil and Bokare Mathieu.
At great impact, we've come a long way. It's a huge milestone for us. Firstly, just seeing how the perpetrators of child marriages are now being prosecuted, and from Friday we see that these 4 men have taken a plea. It's not one that I would delve into because it's a matter that's still before the court. However, it shows that great impact. We've come a long way, and there has been a huge shift, not just within Sierra Leone, but this is a huge shift in terms of the protection of girls for all across West Africa and Africa as a whole. When you look at the ECOWAS court judgment, there are a number of issues that it brings to light. Firstly, the fact that child marriage is a form of gender-based violence, and as such, government has an obligation to ensure that these child marriages are not repeated or they're not happening anymore. And we can see that steps have been taken by Sierra Leone, and that sends a huge message to the rest of Africa, where women and girls are suffering as a result of child marriage and gender-based violence. We also see that through this particular judgment, one of the issues that advocate continually speaks about is the fact that gender-based violence is a contributing factor to women actually coming into contact with the law. And this minor's case is a clear example. At age 11, she was forced into child marriage. She was abused sexually, emotionally, mentally. All of that had great impact on her well-being as a child and her development and growth. And during that process, she came into contact with the law. In fact, she fled from the alleged marriage. She ran away. Her family took her back because she was a form of economic security. And this is something that we see on a regular basis across Africa. So it's not just a Sierra Leone issue. But we have indeed come a long way, considering the fact that the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act is now being implemented, even though it came after we had already filed a case before the court. But it shows the dedication to ensure that girls are being protected. So I think it's a huge milestone for all of us.
Well, as efforts intensify to combat child marriage, authorities are also emphasizing the need to protect survivors throughout the justice process. The Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs say safeguarding the identity and dignity of child victims is essential to prevent stigma and further harm, particularly in media reporting. The acting head of the Children's Affairs Directorate at the Ministry of Gender was also on Wake Up Salon breakfast program earlier today. Let's watch.
As I said, in terms of information sharing, at least you have to observe the guiding principles, because dealing with children, abuse cases, we protect the lives of that child, and at the same time re-traumatize that child. Because if you don't observe the guiding principles, like you don't, you mention the name of that child or even the address of family relatives, definitely they will witch hunt and they will try to stigmatize that child at the same time. So that is why we have the referral reporting mechanism and responsible reporting ways how to report those cases rather than exposing them again to other subsequent abuse cases. And that is why we continue to sensitize the public, also in line with the Cyber Security Crime Act and also the relevant laws for the protection of children, to ensure that when bloggers are reporting, they do not have to mention the names and the addresses and the families of those children, but rather use the 116 child helpline, and at the same time, the nearest family support unit police stations where they can take these actions legally in order to ensure that the offenders are not scot-free. But most of those bloggers or the reporters are not well trained in observing the guiding principles in child protection. These are some of the challenges, where some of these children are being exposed to stigma, to discrimination, and other further harm. And that is why the ministry, in collaboration with partners, we continue to sensitize the public, and we already have safe homes where we can provide alternative care services for these children to provide counseling and other psychosocial support, so that by the time they are rehabilitated, provided with medical services, and then they will be able to absorb back without any further threat or illegal or discrimination against them.
Allowing a move to highlight an often overlooked area of Islamic learning, the Mohammed VI Foundation of African Ulama has organized its annual Hadith memorization competition in Sierra Leone. The event, officials say, is very rare in the country. Let's hear from Mohammed Mans Toronka, who has the details for us.
ما رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم شكا جوعا قط ولا عطشا فكان يغدو.
Thus, Yunus Bangura, one of the participants who won the first category of the Hadith competition. Unlike Quranic memorization competition, which are held regularly across Sierra Leone, Hadith memorization competitions are uncommon. The president of the foundation, Sheikh Ismail Kuroma, said the program is intended to raise awareness about the importance of studying and preserving the sayings and practice of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
We get plenty aim them who want for score out of this. One of them aim them now for let they begin to know about hadith, because hadith is the second source of information, of legislation in Islam. Without Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in hadith, we're not going to know nothing by the Quran.
The competition was held across 3 different categories to encourage participation from various age groups and levels of memorization. According to the president of the foundation, the winners from the 3 categories, Yunus Bangura for the first category, Mohammed Saliu Alusain Jallo for the second category, and Usman Bari for the third category, will go on to represent Sierra Leone at an upcoming international Hadith memorization competition.
Now they feel that they force them by the categories, and then I get for the Sierra Leone on that continental level. So now make una when they get for when I get for see I can force now. We are where you go not sleep. Get for not for say you get for compete under 47 countries then. Yes. 47 countries in Africa that they get for compete with them.
The winners spoke with courage and determination, pledging to represent Sierra Leone on the international stage and showcase the country's growing progress in Islamic education. Organizers said the competition is part of the foundation's broader mandate to promote Islamic scholarship, strengthen religious education, and connect Sierra Leonean students with the wider Muslim world. For AYV News, Mohammed Mans Thoronka, Freetown.
Estimates that the world faces a shortage of around 11 million health workers by 2030, with the greatest deficits concentrated in low and middle income countries, particularly in Africa. In Sierra Leone here, the challenge is especially acute. The country continues to grapple with one of the world's highest maternal mortality rates, estimated at about 354 deaths per 100,000 live births, and under 5 mortality rate at roughly 94 deaths per 100 live births, according to latest estimates from the United Nations and the World Bank. Although there has been some progress in this regard, according to local data. Behind every statistic is a family whose future has been rewritten by loss. It is against this backdrop that physicians and medical specialists have gathered in Freetown for the 11th annual general meeting of the Sierra Leone chapter of the West African College of Physicians, making the college's golden jubilee under the theme WACP at 50, celebrating a legacy and envisioning the future. Well, our education reporter George Battler Paul has the details.
Medicine is more than the science of healing. It is a covenant between knowledge and humanity. Every diagnosis offers hope. Every skilled physician becomes a bridge between suffering and recovery. That shared mission brought together physicians, researchers, and healthcare leaders from across Sierra Leone and the West African sub-region. Their goal is not merely to celebrate 50 years of professional excellence, but to ask a more urgent question: how can medicine save more lives in the decades ahead? Opening the conference, Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Charles Senesi, reaffirmed government's commitment to strengthening healthcare through specialist training, continuous professional development, research, and collaboration.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to go over all of the speeches, but from the Minister of Health perspective, we very much appreciate what is going here. And at this defining moment, in the name of His Excellency the President, and in the name of the leadership Minister of Health, the people of Sierra Leone, in the name of God, may I officially declare this West African College of Physicians Conference open. And I thank you. We have come a long way as a country, as a continent, as a region. And WACP at 50, half a century, has a legacy to celebrate. And we very much allude to that. And we're extremely honored and happy that Dr. Coker has really walked us through that legacy as we position ourselves for the future we want in the next 50 years. Which he has very much said, it is a Herculean task, but we have to rise up to that task. We as the Minister of Health, we are the consumers of all what's been said. When the specialists come, we are the ones we absorb and they support our healthcare delivery system.
The conference also celebrated a remarkable milestone. For 50 years, the West African College of Physicians has trained thousands of specialists, serving millions of people across the region. Former president of the college, Dr. Patrick Coker, reflected on that journey, describing medical education as a living inheritance passed from one generation of physicians to the next. He called for greater investment in research, innovation, and young specialists as Africa confronts rising case of non-communicable diseases, emerging infections, and the growing impacts of climate change on public health.
The 50th anniversary of the West African College of Physicians is not just a ceremonial landmark. It is a moment of institutional memory, national pride, and future responsibility. For the Sierra Leone chapter, West African College of Physicians at 50 carries a special meaning because Sierra Leone was not a late beneficiary of the college. It was part of the founding story. Its physicians were among the early builders of the college's identity, and its institutions were part of the early training landscape. The theme, WACP at 50, celebrating a legacy and envisioning the future, invites the chapter to reflect on three connected questions. Firstly, what was the problem that made WACP necessary? Secondly, what has the college achieved over the last 50 years regionally and in Sierra Leone? And thirdly, what kind of postgraduate medical training system must the college build for the next generation? The 2026 Sierra Leone chapter AGSM is therefore not only a scientific meeting. It is a platform for memory, gratitude, honest assessment, and renewed commitment. It is also a timely opportunity to connect the legacy of WACP with the symposium theme, strengthening postgraduate medical training in Sierra Leone, aligning pathways for quality, excellence, and sustainability.
One of the conference's most sobering discussions centered on child survival. Although Sierra Leone has made remarkable progress over the past 2 decades in reducing deaths among children under 5, thousands of young lives are still lost each year to preventable causes including malaria, pneumonia, neonatal complications, and malnutrition.
So it is no secret that over 2.4 million newborns are born, die each year globally. And 99% of these are found in low and middle income countries like Sierra Leone. So most neonatal fatalities occur at home. This is because mostly mothers or caregivers fail to identify the neonatal danger signs, which prompt timely arrival or seeking of help. After birth, neonatal health depends mainly on the care and practices of the mothers or the immediate caregivers.
The gathering is both a celebration of 50 years of medical excellence and a renewed promise that the future of healthcare must be defined not only by longer lives but by better ones. George Bartolo Powell, AYV News. George Bartolo Powell, AYV News, Freetown.
All right, so this is Primetime News on AIV TV and radio. Stay tuned for more stories. We'll be back after the break.
Do you know you can transfer money, buy airtime, and pay all your utility bills in just a minute? You can have access to your account anytime, anywhere. Welcome to the world of fast and easy. GT Wall. With the GT Wall, you can transfer money from one GT Co account to another, pay utility bills, get account statements, get airtime, and check your balance. With GT Wall, you can buy Exa anytime, anywhere. You can go to App Store or Play Store on your iPhone and Android devices, download the app, and enjoy. GT Co. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
Mutik. This one is bold ones. The people who shaped their world and the winners who still put in the work. Cheers to those who start great things. When you start, you're hard to stop. You raise your game and never back down because you're bold enough to make it. To you I say, never stop. Mutik, never stop starting.
All right, welcome back. I am Victor Jones and this is AYV's Primetime News. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. Now, raising a child is never simple, but for some parents it becomes a daily act of endurance. A quiet battle against stigma, silence and exhaustion. In Freetown, one mother has lived that reality for 17 years. Her daughter lives with autism, abandoned by her partner, judged by her community. She says she chose one path only, which is to stay when others, including the dad, absconded. Here is a story of what actual resilience and unfading maternal love means. AYV's health reporter, Ediba Conte, has the details.
Aminata.
17 years, a lifetime folded into care, patience, and persistence. This mother's journey has not been measured in days, but in resilience. In a society where autism is still widely misunderstood, she says she has carried more than motherhood can ordinarily bear. Stigma and isolation have been two of her closest companions.
I born as premature, 8 months. So doctor didn't give up on her. They say you know they survive. So now the hospital are born na Caesar dem do for me. So I no be know nothing. So when dem tell him papa say he no dey survive, so all my abandon, dem left am na the hospital. They no wear clothes for now, they no wear nappy, so they left am. The way I see them, they take care of am, but it not been too well, because the way I see am, it's like they be one for give up on her. See, they be one for like that, so we been get for run away. Now the hospital, go back on the other side. So the pressure, the challenges what I been go through, been boku. Yeah, because they tell me man in family, then say the pikin na witch. So we for return her, na devil, na this and that, we for return the pikin. But me not been give up on her at all. So they be even say let him papa, let him left the pikin, me and him, let him left because now that make hard time they pan with because of the pikin. So not to motama. So now that make hard time they pan with. So let it give away the pikin, let it return her. But I'm not being doer.
She stayed when others left, a decision that came with sacrifice. Financial strain deepened, social circles faded, but her commitment never wavered. Her daughter needed support, and she kept searching for it.
Well, the time now he done 9 years, he begin go school. But the way how the school been a treater, he not been fine. In fact, they been making a pump now one school. So that pump they affect in foot. So later we can go na hospital, na do hospital. Then go do X-ray. The result been show say the vein we hold the kneecap been not cut. So it been sit on our house. So when you sit on our house, you know they go school. You know, it be time they say na frustrate, it be one frustrate.
That search stretched across years of terror and uncertainty until she found one place that responded differently, the Said Autism School.
For many families, raising a child with autism comes with unique challenges, but it also comes with hope. Here at the Said Autism Foundation, children are receiving the support and care they need to learn, grow, and thrive like every other child in society.
So we get what we call visual learning, we get what we call individual learning plan. So each and every pikin, we get some the way na fast learner. I know they like the normal pikin away. Now like when we go na normal school, we then say the multiplication we all need for Sabia at the same time. Hot mentally come inside. But here now, we get a process where they undergo. We know say this speaking ability, a fast learner, this is a slow learner, this it take time for let sabi right, this it take time for let able right. So we get other mechanism, even though we not get all the technological tools them for teach them, but we use skills them and create other material for them. And also we involve visual learning by watching through the television, that they will help them, that they will acquire knowledge.
Inside the classroom, learning is not uniform, it is individualistic. Teachers adapt lessons to each child. Communication, social interaction, life skills, all taught at a pace shaped by the child, not by the instruction as it happens elsewhere. For a 17-year-old daughter, that shift has been visible.
We begin can at this school. Now that in self, it feel say it part of it feel say in self na motama because we do with in company we not all are the same. So you can just take and say they all are the same number. The other school that we will go, the teacher then say this speaking, we not need that self na the school. So they not be pay attention to her. But now we they can pressure it can able for spell in name now. And it like book business, it like school business. So it can write, it spell in name, it read small. So more improvement there.
Globally, autism affects an estimated 1 in 100 children, according to the World Health Organization. But across many low-income countries, including Sierra Leone, access to diagnosis and specialized support remains limited. Experts warn that without early intervention, many children are left behind.
Challenge, as I say, is limited budget allocation. The Ministry of Finance allocates budget to this ministry, sometimes late, and we cannot achieve all. The resources are very minimal. For example, it's 1.2% of the resources that are allocated to this ministry, whereas like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, they provide 4%. So these are our challenges. We cannot be able to advocate entirely in the hard-to-reach areas. So that is why this ministry will collaborate also with partners, yes, like UNICEF, like Save the Children, like World Vision, like ChildFund, to sometimes complement our effort by providing educational facilities for the most vulnerable children in need of care and protection. And disability issue is not excluded.
Autism shapes how this young girl experiences the world, but it does not define her. Behind every step forward stands a mother who refused to surrender to stigma or silence. And while gaps in support remain wide, her story carries a simple truth. With understanding, inclusion and care, potential does not disappear. It waits for destiny and entangled in a warm embrace. Edima Conte, AYV News, Freetown.
Well, joining us on set tonight as well is Maria Esther Samura for some sport update. Good evening.
Good evening. But for our sport updates tonight, Rangers Football Club have sealed the 2025-2026 Leonora Premier League title following a hard-fought 1-0 win over relegation 13th Diamond Stars FC on Sunday 28th June at Southern Arena in Bo. Here is the report.
The decisive moment came in the 75th minute when defender Lamin Kabo found the net, ensuring of 3 points for Rangers and leaving Diamond Stars in jeopardy with just 2 fixtures remaining. This latest success marks Rangers' 4th league title in 5 seasons. With this win, Rangers have widened the gap at the top to 7 points ahead of their nearest challengers, Star Sports Academy. Their triumph also means automatic qualification for the CAF Champions League preliminary rounds.
Hearty congratulations to Rangers Football Club for winning the Sierra Leone Men's Premier League. Away from that, now the Sierra Leone Football Association has concluded its ordinary congress in Bo, the first since the election of Babadi Kamara as president of the association. It brought together 55 out of 57 delegates, as well as other football stakeholders and officials from across the country. They discussed the state of the association and the future of football in Sierra Leone. Here is the report. The Congress served as a platform for key football stakeholders in Sierra Leone to come together and collectively endorse plans that will boost football's development in the country. Babadi Kamara, president of the Sierra Leone Football Association, presented his activity report to members since assuming office. He informed them that the FA had undertaken a comprehensive internal restructuring aimed at improving institutional effectiveness. Kamara said they have delivered a landmark coaching safety program, advanced women's football, supported regional football associations with $50,000 annually, up from $15,000. And promoted youth football development. He furthered that his administration had inherited outstanding financial obligations totaling 1.8 million loans and $106,393,000, noting that significant progress had been made in honoring those debts. He maintained that they also inherited an overwhelming debt in liability.
In 2022, FIFA approved and released $216,000 United States dollars for furniture for the Sierra Leone Football Association Secretariat, including the posters for our youth team. Distinguished delegates, only about $13,000 worth of furniture was supplied. The rest, you can judge. In the just concluded audit by our independent auditors, it forms part of the management report that since 2022, Sierra Leone Football Association has failed to establish a clear communication on this matter. That is, to write the supplier who was paid to supply these items but could not deliver. Since then, nothing was done until we took office. Still, it remains to be an unanswered question and continue to hand over the credibility of Sierra Leone Football Association.
The delegates recognized this year's gathering as the first professionally organized SLFA Congress to be conducted without any interruptions, disputes, or procedural obstacles.
I think it's a very successful and peaceful Congress, and most of the things that were discussed is for the furtherance of football in a nutshell. So I think it's a very good one. I hope and pray that things that were discussed for the future would be done, and it will not take that long. But generally, I think it has been a very good one.
To start with, this is my second Congress, and I believe I am so impressed with what I saw today, because we just concluded a Congress that is very peaceful. We are able to communicate to ourselves in a very calm atmosphere. Everybody was able to understand what each other was saying. But quite apart from that, I am impressed with what the report that our newly elected president read to us, and I must say that's a lot for a sitting president who is not even up to 1 year yet in the seat. I want to say I am impressed, but most especially...
The Minister of Sport took note of the amazing unity among the delegates and called on everyone to continue working hand in hand for the betterment of football in Sierra Leone.
For this body to compact, to sit here and think about the things that will bring about success in football. It has always been contentious. It has always been full of problems, conflicts. But today, look at us seated here, cool and calm, listening to each other. Yes, and that is because the tenets of the governance are really manifesting themselves in the things of football.
This year's Congress saw delegates setting aside formalities for a while, taking to the pitch in a match that brought sense of humor and togetherness. Quickly in the League Premier League game, well, fresh off their East Lions Football Club, fresh off their triumph in the 2025-2026 Sierra Leone FA Cup, as they have also overwhelmed mighty Blackpool with a stunning 5-0 win in the Premier League action. This dominant display comes days after they edged past mighty Blackpool 1-0 in the final of the FA Cup. Suleiman Escabo was in sensational form, netting a brilliant hat-trick, while Alicante added 2 more goals to complete the impressive scoreline. The result lifts East Lions to 5th place in the league with 47 points as the season continues to unfold. Well, that's it for Sport Update tonight. I am Maesta Samora. Over to you, Victor Jones.
Thank you very much indeed, Maesta Samora, for that update. Well, that's all for Primetime News tonight. For more stories, do visit our website at www.ayvnews.com. If you have any comments on this news or any of our programs, do not wait to send us an email to info@ayvnews.com. As always, Victor Jones are my names. Many thanks indeed for watching and listening. Good night.